For this tutorial, we're going to be looking at the transition from Turing to Java as it relates to selection statements, which are if-else statements. So I've got a simple program here on the left side. It's already written in Turing. This program asks the user for their age, and then depending on the input they give responses. For example, under 13, you're a child; 13 to 19, you're a teen; 20 to 65, you're an adult; and over 65, you are a senior citizen. So there are two ways we could go about this using the basic constructs of selection. One of them is to use nested if statements, which means we start with an if, and then if this one is not satisfied, if it's not true, then we open up a new branch with an else. And then we ask our next question. So in this case, you can see, first I ask whether or not they're a child. Is the age less than 13? If that's true, you put they're a child, and then you jump to the end. But if that's not true, now I have a whole new set of questions I have to consider. Are they greater than or equal to 13 and also less than or equal to 19 at the same time? That's why I use the and here. So if they're between 13 and 19, we say they're a teen. But if that's not true, now I have a new branch that I have to consider, which is their age is greater than 19. Notice I don't say greater than or equal to. The equal to is taken care of by this condition. If it's not here, then I check and see, is it greater than this number and is it less than this number? So now I'm looking between 19 and 65, but not including 19 and not including 65. And then that person's an adult. And then else, well, the only thing left, I've considered child, I've considered teen, I've considered adult. The only thing left would be a senior citizen. So that's what the else statement is used for. The else is everything else. And you can see I put a comment here to that effect saying senior citizen is the only thing that's left. So I don't need to do an else with an if. I just go ahead and go straight to senior citizen. In method 2, I use else ifs, but I use this special construct to put them together. The reason is I don't really need all of these branches. Well, I do, but they're all branching off the same point. You can be a child, or you can be a teen, or you can be an adult, or you can be a senior citizen. So based on the result of this one question asking the user their age, I want to make a decision between 1, 2, 3, 4 possible outcomes. Whereas using a nested if, yes, I'm doing the same thing, 4 possible outcomes, but it's a lot less clear that it's just those 4 straightforward branches that I'm dealing with. So I'm going to code both of these options in Java so you can see some of the similarities and some of the differences. First thing is I'm creating a Java program. I need class. In this case, I'm doing my Turing to Java, and in this case, I'm doing it for selection. Whatever you name your class is also going to be what you name your file. Open bracket, close bracket. And then in here, I need to do public static void main string args, open bracket, close bracket. And now this is where my actual program is going to begin. So I need an integer age, that's my variable. System.out.println what is your age? Now I notice when I did it in Turing, I want to do it on the same line. I want to ask the age on the same line. So I'm going to use print instead of println. That allows me to take the next piece and put it on the same line. And that's where I'm going to take the variable age and I'm going to fill it with the user input. And the way I do that is with a getInt command. That gives the user the prompt to input something, and then when they hit enter, whatever value they entered here is going to get saved in this variable. Okay, so method 1, I'm going to say if, and I put my condition. In this case, my condition was age less than 13. And that part is exactly the same. We don't use the keyword then in Java. Now we just go and open a new curly bracket, and we start from here. Now, these opening and closing of curly brackets could get potentially confusing here. So try to keep track of it. The indenting is going to help us with that. So this is my first branch. If age is less than 13, what do I want? I want system.out.println, you are a child. Now, if that's not the case, I want to put an else. And so I say close bracket, else, open bracket. So this bracket goes with the if, open bracket, close bracket, and then I've created a new open bracket, close bracket. That's for the else. So that's the else branch. And then within that, I have another if. If age is greater than or equal to 13. In Turing, we use the keyword and, uppercase or lowercase. In Java, we use the double ampersand, and it requires two of them here. So this is saying age greater than or equal to 13 and age less than or equal to 19. And if that's the case, I need to do another open bracket. Put, well, it's not put this time, it's system.out.println, you are a teen. But if that's not the case, then I have an else, open bracket, and now I need to check whether or not the person's an adult. So if age is greater than 19 and age is less than 65, open bracket, system.out.println, you are an adult, close bracket, and I've got one more else, but I have my last else here. This is not an else if, this is just an else. And that one is system.out.println, you are a senior citizen. And close that bracket off. Now you can see this is not nearly, despite the fact that this is fairly ugly in Turing, this is fairly ugly in any programming language, in Java it is particularly ugly because of all these open brackets, close brackets. So one thing you can do, most Java development environments, they're called IDE, Integrated Development Environments, they will actually let you click on things like these brackets and you can see everything that's enclosed within that bracket. So let's start here. If age is less than 13, what's the code that goes in that branch? You are a child, that's it. Else, everything else goes in this next branch, and you can see that that's all highlighted here. And then I've got my next if age is greater than or equal to 13. Well, what happens if I'm between 13 and 19? You are a teen. So use these tools to help you do these things. The other thing is some people will represent their else this way. So they actually spread the else over 3 lines. I actually used to do that myself. So if you prefer the look of that, at one point in time I preferred the look of that, then if you want to spread these things out, you feel free to do that. If that looks more visually appealing to you or better organized, then you do whatever works for you. Okay, now this is a lot of code. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to fit both of these methods or both of these different techniques in here. And so now from here, and I have to watch my level of indenting. So that goes with this bracket. So this bracket is the one I want to get rid of. I want to get rid of everything from here to here. And now I'm going to go to method 2. And in method 2, I have, this is going to be down here. It's a lot of the same things. Actually, I guess I should have kept it, but you know what? I'll do it from scratch. If age is less than 13, open bracket, system.out.println, you are a child. The thing that I'm going to do different now is close bracket, and then rather than doing an else, I'm actually going to do an else if. Now, this is an advantage. I like this better in Java than in Turing, which is at least in Java, it's just the words else if. So with this one, I actually prefer to do it on a line by itself. Age greater than or equal to 13. And I don't use and, I use double ampersand. Age less than or equal to 19. System.out.println you are 18. Close the bracket. Else if my new condition, age is greater than 19 and age is less than 65, open a new bracket, system.out.println you are an adult, close bracket, and in this case it's not going to be an else if, I'm just going to do an else because the only option left is senior citizen. It's not a bad idea when you do your else statement to use a comment on the end of your else to explain what it is that you think is being covered by the else. System.out.println you are a senior citizen. And close that bracket. So the big difference here is you can see this is much more linear. It doesn't have all of that crazy indenting that we saw before. But you need to choose between nested ifs and else ifs as the situation demands. Now, something I'm going to point out here doesn't really fit into this tutorial, but what if I wanted to use the keyword or? In that case, you use a double vertical line for or, as opposed to a double ampersand for and. And there's one other thing that I want to point out to you here, and I think I'll use the interactions pane just to show you, which is in Java we can have string variables as well. So string A equals hello and string B equals hello. So I've put identical strings in there. So A is equal to hello, B is equal to hello. Now the way that we compare things, there's a couple of things actually I need to be adding in here. When we want to compare two things being equal to each other, so I'm also going to say, let's say int x equals 5 and int y equals 5. So there's x and there's y. So x equals y. That's how we compare things being equal to each other. So x and y are equal to each other. Well, there's the string A, there's the string B. A equals B. It gave me false, but those two strings are equal. Why are they not equal? It's because Java handles strings differently. So the way that we have to compare, if we want to compare two strings to each other, the way we do that is we say A dot equals B. So that is the Java syntax for comparing two strings to each other. A is the first string, then we put period and the word equals, and B is the second string in a bracket there. And there you can see the strings A and B are actually equal. So my example didn't get a chance to show that, but it is something you're going to be wondering about, both this equals operator and also how do I get two strings and check and see whether or not they're equal to each other. Okay, that's it for our transition tutorial from Turing to Java using selection statements, if and if else and else if.